After a long period of reflection, Mercedes finally came to a conclusion in regard to which driver would race alongside Lewis Hamilton in 2022. After months of rumours and discussions, Bottas was demoted to Alfa Romeo Sauber. Meanwhile, 23-year-old George Russell was given a seat in Mercedes. But what exactly does Russell feel about his transition into one of the most dominant teams in Formula One history? George Russell stated that he was filled with excitement when his position at Mercedes was announced on September 7, 2021. "It's a special day for me personally and professionally. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't absolutely buzzing. It's a huge opportunity," he said. George Russell is also very contemptuous in regards to the fact that the top team that hired him was Mercedes and not Red Bull. He feels that the Austrian team has behaved quite ruthlessly in regards to its treatment of their rookies. While Max Verstappen's speed is evident and quite obvious, there is no doubt Red Bull are and have been favouring Max Verstappen for the past few seasons. Therefore, Russell is right to say that Red Bull has been quite strict with their drivers. On the flip side, Mercedes has never picked up a rookie driver, and therefore it's hard to compare Red Bull's driver treatment with Mercedes. In short, Russell believes that Mercedes is a little more lenient with its drivers compared to Red Bull. But is Russell right to speak in such a way? Ever since Ricciardo left Red Bull's second seat seems to have been cursed. Gasly, who looked promising in 2018's Toro Rosso, was simply not able to adapt to the 2019 RB15 and was miles behind his teammate Max Verstappen. Albon subsequently stepped in. Despite his 2 podiums, would have been more hadn't Hamilton not ploughed into him in turn 10 at Brazil 2019 as well as turn 4 at the Red Bull Ring the following season. He was sacked. Red Bull therefore decided to opt for a more experienced driver. In this case, the perfect candidate to step in was Sergio Perez, a seasoned F1 veteran. He did prove more competitive of the other 2 precedents, however the gap with Verstappen was still evident. Even though it can be argued that it's the driver's responsibility to drive as fast as possible and maximise the car's performance, it must be stated that Red Bull's #1 priority is Max Verstappen. Many have pointed out that Red Bull seems quite one-sided in the amount of support they give to both drivers. There were in fact numerous rumours that stated that it wasn't inherently either Albon's or Gasly's inability to drive, but the car itself as well as the team's attitude. This argument is suggested by the fact that neither Albon or Gasly were essentially untalented drivers. As a matter of fact, it was quite the opposite. Moreover, Gasly's return to Scuderia Toro Rosso, who would later transform into AlphaTauri, quickly displayed the young Frenchman's raw speed. Very little mistakes and very good both one lap and race pace. As ironic as it sounds, Gasly did end up clenching his maiden victory in Monza. Therefore, stating the driver quality was the problem at the other side of Red Bull's garage was not likely the case. A problem in Red Bull, says Gasly, was the amount of support provided by his team. "From the moment I made my first mistake in a car, I felt like people there slowly began to turn on me," stated Gasly. "I'd had a crash in winter testing, and from that moment on, the season never really got going." He also stated that Red Bull did very little to protect him from the media's accusations in regard to his poor performance. He states, "Anything I said in the press was twisted into an excuse for my form, and nobody really stuck up for me." It's clear that one of the reasons for which many youngsters as well as new drivers have struggled at Red Bull is the apparent lack of support by the team, which seems to be too concentrated on the leading driver Max Verstappen. A second element that seems to explain why so many new drivers have struggled settling in at Red Bull is adapting to the car as well as the car itself. It must be taken into consideration that both the RB15 and RB16 have been built in accordance to Max Verstappen's very aggressive driving style. It's not unheard of for teams to focus on one driver more than the other. Schumacher's Benetton was a perfect example. It seemed that only he could extract the best performance out of the car. However, some feel that the car itself is hard to drive, and Max Verstappen has the advantage of having a greater experience in the team as well as Formula One in general compared to Gasly and Albon. It could be that this enabled him to adjust himself to a car which is quite difficult to drive. Christian Horner did state that Gasly and Albon did have to deal with the same driving difficulties. Christian himself stated that the car was quite twitchy under braking, especially under braking. Given that Red Bull did lose quite a large amount of points in the Constructors' Championship in 2019 as well as 2020, they did try to make the car more drivable. Christian Horner did state that they were aware of the drivability issues of the RB16 and attempted to ease Sergio Perez's transition into Red Bull. As a matter of fact, Sergio Perez did objectively perform better than the previous Red Bull drivers. However, how much of his performance can be attributed to his talent rather than a more drivable car compared to Gasly's and Albon's single-seater? A conclusion that can be derived is that Red Bull's RB16B is still a complicated car to drive, and the difficulties are even higher for rookie drivers such as Gasly and Albon. On the other hand, if a driver is much more experienced, as was the case for Perez, adapting to a new car is a more doable task. While it does seem like Red Bull is certainly one of the most hostile environments for rookie drivers in respect to the other teams, it must be stated Mercedes has never picked up a real rookie. However, the fact that George Russell was able to jump in Hamilton's car and quickly get up to speed shows that the Mercedes environment is definitely more welcoming. Of course, it must be taken into account that George Russell is also an extremely talented driver, and it could also be possible that his talent compensated for the difficulties in quickly adapting to the new car. Nonetheless, the reasons for which Russell prefers Mercedes compared to Red Bull are quite obvious, even though it's too early to say if George will thrive at Mercedes, given its notoriety for the usage of team orders and one-sided strategies. Is Russell right about Red Bull's ruthlessness, or will he face the same problems in Mercedes? Only time will tell.